right, Californians overwhelmingly voted for Joe Biden, but in case you think they overwhelmingly voted for the prospect of higher taxes, well, there was a limit to that. Californians similarly rejected measures to let property taxes move up, something that would have been costly for most average residents and certainly for small businesses. The fallout from that rather unusual split read from the Golden State, from Rebecca Walser, Walser Wealth Management, John Layfield, Fox News contributor, much more. It is a little odd at first blush, right, Rebecca? Yeah, we like Joe Biden. We know what he wants to do with taxes. We know there are many of us in the $400,000 and over crowd, but we're not going to go crazy here. What did you make of that?
Yeah. We like him until we have to start paying more taxes. It's funny, Neil, Joe Biden and Kamala endorsed Prop 15, which is what we're talking about here. Since 1978, California has a limit of 2% per year on property tax increases. And Prop 15 was then basically trying to reassess businesses every 3 years. But these businesses haven't been assessed since 1978. And so it was projected to generate over $12 billion of revenue. And people that voted for Joe Biden said, no, thank you on taxes.
You know, it is interesting, too, because I'm sure this went beyond just the politics of it all, John, and it looked at all the people who've been leaving California for lower tax confines, whether it's Texas or Florida. So maybe they realize that, look, if everybody leaves, ourselves included, there is no tax base here. But what do you think was going on there?
I think that is a big part of it. You look at what's going on in California, say, compared to Texas, which has no state income tax. Texas is running a surplus. Now, they had the advantage of having the shale oil fields in West Texas and wind power in West Texas as well. But you have fully functioning, fully funded police, fully funded schools, fully funded cities in Texas, and you pay no state income tax. Or you can go to California where you pay a significant state and the local tax and don't have fully funded all of that. So it snowballs to both sides. And I think what you said earlier is 100% correct. Look at San Diego County. 23% voted more for President soon-to-be President Biden over President Trump. 13%, though, voted not to have raised taxes. Exactly what Vice President Biden, President-elect Biden now is saying he was going to do. I think it's a repudiation of the policies and saying we want a different person in the White House.
Yeah, and if you think about it, the gains Republicans made in the House and the likelihood that they will hold on to the Senate, it might be some of what you say there, John. If I could step back, guys, and look at the markets right now, of course, this is the third day in a row we've been buoyed by the prospect of a vaccine out of Pfizer. That's one, but there are a host of others out there. And I'm wondering how long and how far it can carry the markets. I mean, especially if others pop along, because even Goldman and others have been raising the possibility that any delay in such a vaccine will not be greeted favorably by the markets. What do you think of that, Rebecca? It doesn't mean denied. They're talking about the idea of it getting delayed. What do you think?
It freaks me out, Neil. I'm just going to be blunt. I mean, this is scary stuff here. And I was, Pfizer was so elated to see, I was so elated to see that Mark was so happy to see that we potentially have a U.S.-based, not Russian, but a U.S. real vaccine. And then I heard so many of the people that are named to Biden's potential future coronavirus task force talking about these really backward-looking, mundane, terrible economic, things of shutting down again. And all these things that I'm like, wait a minute, have you not read the research? Do you not know all of these things that's going on and all around the world? We have all these nations that have done all of these different ways of handling the virus. We can now look, Neil, and see who did it right and whose economy was least impacted, and yet most people are healthy. And you're telling us that we're not able to get back to normal until another year and a half or something, when a vaccine could be out in April, as far as I understood what Dr. Fauci said yesterday. So the economy has got to get back to some level of normal, and a vaccine should help us do that. And I don't want to hear anybody saying it's going to take another 2 years or anything. That's ridiculous. Unacceptable. That is not acceptable in the United States of America in 2020. Unacceptable.
Remind me not to mess with you. I think I know where you're coming from, and it's a very good point. John, obviously hope springs eternal for still other vaccine potentials, Moderna among them, certainly Eli Lilly, certainly some of these others that have come up with, if not outright vaccines, a way to treat some of the maladies around the disease. So I'm wondering if it's a green light for biotech going forward, regardless.
I think it is, yes, because the messenger RNA that you have right now with Pfizer is the same as Moderna. They're projected to report somewhere around November 22nd of this month. They probably should have the same type of results because you have two different vaccines. You have the traditional vaccine that is a protein base, that is like your measles, your polio, your smallpox, your yellow fever, things like that that you put into the body. This is a gene based, and none of these have ever been approved. So this will be the first messenger RNA a gene-based vaccine that will be approved. It's much cheaper to produce because you produce it in test tubes instead of having to cultivate that virus. This completely changes the medical landscape, and it's really good for our country. Looks like Moderna is going to be second and be very close after Pfizer.
Nice to hear on all fronts. Guys, I want to thank you both. I get a straight read from two of you. That's why I love having you on. In the meantime,